The cleaner begged, "Boss, come home. The missus isn't who she claims to be." Dorothy Martinez never imagined that her daily routine as a cleaner in the elegant Harrison home in the Beverly Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles would become the center of a mystery that would shatter her peace of mind. Having worked for the couple Michael Harrison and Jennifer Harrison for 2 years, she had always taken pride in her dedication and discretion. It was during a routine cleaning of the master bedroom that everything began to unravel. Dorothy was organizing the papers Jennifer had left scattered on the dresser when her eyes caught something that made her heart race. Among bills and receipts were birth certificates with completely different names, but all bearing the same photo of her employer. "How strange," she murmured to herself, adjusting her reading glasses that she used to see small details clearly. The first document showed the name Jennifer Marie Collins, born on March 15, 1985 in San Diego. The second, however, carried the name Amanda Marie Collins, with the same birth date but registered in Oceanside. The photo was identical in both documents, but the registration numbers were completely different. Dorothy felt a chill run down her spine. During her 53 years of life, having worked in family homes since she was 16, she had developed a sharp instinct for detecting when something wasn't right. That instinct was now screaming in her ears like a deafening alarm. She quickly put the documents back exactly where she found them and continued her cleaning, but her mind couldn't focus on anything else. Her hands trembled slightly as she dusted the furniture, and her eyes kept returning to the dresser where she had made the disturbing discovery. Michael Harrison had always been an exemplary employer. He treated her with respect, paid on time, and never made her feel inferior because of her social status. He was a successful businessman in the import industry, traveling frequently for work, but always showing genuine affection for his family. Jennifer, in turn, had always seemed like a devoted wife and loving mother to little Emily, just 6 years old. But something had changed in recent months. Dorothy began to recall small details that had seemed insignificant at the time, but now took on a sinister dimension. Jennifer seemed different, more distant, as if she were constantly thinking about something else. Her gestures were slightly different. Her way of organizing things had changed. "Dorothy, could you make a stronger coffee today?" asked Jennifer, entering the kitchen holding little Emily's hand. "Of course, Mrs. Jennifer. As you always like it, with 2 spoons of sugar?" Jennifer hesitated for a moment, something Dorothy immediately noticed. "Actually, no sugar today." "No, I'm trying to cut back on sweets." The cleaner nodded positively, but inside another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Jennifer had always taken her coffee with 2 generous spoons of crystal sugar. It was one of her most noticeable habits, something that even bothered Michael, who often joked that his wife drank coffee syrup. While preparing the drink, Dorothy discreetly observed the interaction between Jennifer and Emily. The girl seemed slightly distant from her mother, not showing the same spontaneity as before. When Jennifer tried to comb her curly hair, Emily complained. "Not like that, Mommy. You always did it differently," protested the child, with the brutal honesty typical of children. "Oh yes, sorry my love, Mommy was distracted," replied Jennifer, but Dorothy noticed that she really didn't know how her daughter liked her hair combed. After breakfast, Jennifer withdrew to her personal office to work on her decorating projects, as she usually said. Dorothy took the opportunity to play a bit with Emily in the living room, something that had always been part of their routine and that the girl loved. "Aunt Dorothy, Mommy is different, isn't she?" Emily unexpectedly asked while assembling a puzzle on the living room rug. Dorothy's heart leapt, but she tried to keep her voice calm. "What do you mean, sweetie? Different how?" "She doesn't sing that song at bedtime anymore, and she forgot where my favorite toys are kept. Yesterday she searched all over the house for my doll, but I always leave it in the blue box under the bed." Each of the girl's words echoed in Dorothy's mind as confirmation of her growing suspicions. The Jennifer she had known for 2 years would never forget where Emily kept her toys. She was meticulous, organized, knew every detail of her daughter's routine. "And what was the song she used to sing, Emmy?" "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." "She always changed the lyrics to make it funny. Said she threw the stick at the cat, but it turned into a prince. Now she says she doesn't remember that song." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, Please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Dorothy spent the rest of the day on high alert, observing every movement, every word, every gesture of Jennifer. During lunch, she noticed her employer avoided eating shrimp, which had always been her favorite seafood. In the afternoon, when the phone rang and the person on the other end asked for Amanda, Jennifer quickly hung up, saying it was a wrong number. But the call had lasted long enough for Dorothy to hear the voice on the other end specifically asking, "Amanda, are you okay? It's been weeks since we've heard from you. Mom is worried." Jennifer became visibly nervous after the call, pacing back and forth in the house, checking the windows as if fearing being watched. Dorothy pretended to be busy with cleaning, but every movement of her employer was being carefully recorded in her memory. That night, after putting Emily to bed, Dorothy decided she needed more information. Her maternal instinct, sharpened by raising 3 children alone after her husband's premature death, screamed that this child needed protection. But protection from what? From whom? While Jennifer watched television in the living room, Dorothy took the opportunity to do a more thorough cleaning in her employer's office. Among decoration books and architecture magazines, she found a planner hidden behind other objects. Upon opening it, her suspicions were devastatingly confirmed. The planner was filled with notes in 2 completely different handwritings. Some pages were filled with the handwriting Dorothy recognized as Jennifer's, delicate with soft curves. Other pages, however, showed a more angular, firm writing, completely distinct. And most disturbing, the notes were clearly from 2 different people. In the familiar handwriting, she read, "Trip to San Diego, taking care of mother," and "Amanda will substitute for me for a few weeks." In the other writing, she found, "Michael back Thursday," and "Emily notices the differences. Need to be more careful." Dorothy's legs weakened. She leaned on the office desk, trying to process the magnitude of what she had just discovered. The woman who was taking care of Emily, sleeping in the same bed as Michael, living as wife and mother in that house, was not Jennifer Harrison. It was someone else pretending to be her. But who and why? And more importantly, where was the real Jennifer? Dorothy carefully put everything back in place and finished her shift as if nothing had happened. During her journey back to her home in Compton, on the crowded night bus, her mind worked frantically trying to fit all the pieces of the puzzle together. She remembered Michael mentioning that Jennifer was a twin, but that her sister lived in San Diego, and they rarely visited each other due to old family differences. Could it be possible that... The possibility was absurd, but at the same time, the only logical explanation for everything she had observed. She arrived home mentally exhausted. Her small 2-room house at the end of an alley seemed even more cramped after spending the day at the Harrisons' mansion, but it was her refuge, the place where she could let her guard down and process everything she was experiencing. Her children were already asleep. Brandon, 17, studied in the morning and worked in the afternoon at an auto repair shop. Ashley, 15, took care of Tyler, just 8 years old when she wasn't home. It was a family that had learned to function as a team since they lost the patriarch in a work accident 5 years earlier. Dorothy made some chamomile tea and sat at the small kitchen table, trying to organize her thoughts. She had known Michael for 2 years since she started working at the house. He was an honest, hard-working man who adored his family. If he was being deceived, he deserved to know the truth. But what if she was wrong? What if her suspicions were just the product of an overactive imagination, fueled by years of watching Mexican soap operas during sleepless nights? Losing her job would mean not being able to pay for Tyler's private school, not having money for her high blood pressure medication, maybe having to pull Brandon out of his technical course. On the other hand, what if she was right? What if an imposter was living in that house, potentially putting Michael and Emily in danger? How could she sleep peacefully knowing that perhaps an innocent child was being manipulated by someone with unknown intentions? The early morning arrived without Dorothy being able to get a wink of sleep. At 5 in the morning, she got up determined. She could no longer pretend that nothing had happened. She needed more information, and she knew exactly where to look. The next day, she arrived at the Harrisons' house an hour early. Michael had traveled the day before to Miami, where he would stay for 3 days handling matters for a new import contract. Jennifer was sleeping, or at least that's what she thought was happening in the master bedroom. Dorothy had a copy of the house keys, a demonstration of the trust Michael placed in her. She entered quietly and went to the basement, where she knew Michael kept old documents and family items in large wooden chests. The first chest contained mainly company financial documents. The second, however, was filled with photographs and personal memories. Dorothy searched carefully until she found wedding albums and old family photos. The photographs confirmed her worst suspicions. There were clearly 2 identical women in the photos, Jennifer and her twin sister Amanda. In the wedding photos, Jennifer wore the bridal gown, but on other occasions, it was clear that the 2 took turns at social events, covering for each other when necessary. In a particularly revealing photo taken during Emily's birthday party the previous year, Dorothy could identify that the woman holding the child was not the same as the one in the wedding portraits. The smiles were slightly different, the body posture distinct, small details that only someone used to observing people would notice. Continuing her investigation, she found old letters exchanged between the sisters. The handwriting was definitely different between them, confirming what she had observed in the planner. And the content of the letters revealed a complex dynamic between the twins, where Amanda had always shown an excessive admiration for Jennifer's life to the point of envying her. One letter in particular caught her attention. Dated 6 months earlier, Amanda wrote, "Jennifer, I would be a better mother for Emily, you know that. And Michael deserves someone who values him as he deserves. You just complain about the life I would give anything to have." Dorothy's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a temporary identity swap. It was something much deeper and more disturbing. She heard footsteps upstairs and quickly put everything back in its place, coming up from the basement as if she had just arrived. Jennifer, or Amanda, was in the kitchen making coffee, wearing a robe Dorothy had never seen before. "Good morning, Dorothy. Michael called early. He arrived safely in Miami." "That's good, Mrs. Jennifer. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, very well. By the way, could you wash this robe today? It's new. I bought it yesterday." Dorothy nodded positively, but mentally noted another inconsistency. Jennifer always gave notice when she bought new clothes. She loved showing off her purchases and asking for opinions on combinations. It was one of her innocent little vanities. Throughout the day, Dorothy watched every move of the woman posing as her employer. She saw her hesitate before answering calls, change the subject when Emily mentioned specific memories, avoid certain areas of the house where there were certainly objects that reminded her of the real Jennifer. The turning point came when Emily suddenly fell ill late in the afternoon. The child developed a high fever and vomiting, clearly needing immediate medical attention. The reaction of the fake Jennifer was one of complete panic and confusion. "Dorothy, do you know who Emmy's pediatrician is? Where's his number?" The question echoed like thunder in Dorothy's mind. Jennifer had known Dr. Richard since Emily was born. His number was saved as Dr. Emmy on the house phone. Any mother would know that information by heart, especially after 6 years. "It's saved on the house phone, Mrs. Jennifer, under Dr. Richard's name." "Oh yes, of course, I was nervous," replied the imposter, but Dorothy realized she genuinely didn't know. While the fake Jennifer tried to contact the pediatrician, Dorothy cared for Emily with the experience of someone who had raised 3 children. She gave her a lukewarm bath to bring down the fever, prepared homemade electrolyte solution for rehydration, and calmed the child with nursery rhymes she had learned from her own mother. "Aunt Dorothy sings much better than Mommy now," murmured Emily in the cleaner's arms, with the painful honesty of children. At that moment, Dorothy made a decision. She could no longer delay. Michael needed to know what was happening in his own home. His daughter was being cared for by a stranger, while his real wife was in an unknown location. She waited until the imposter was busy with medical calls and discreetly went to her own cell phone. With trembling hands, she dialed Michael's number, which had been saved in her contacts since her first day of work. "Hello, Mr. Michael. Sorry to call you at the office. I know you're in an important meeting. Dorothy, is something wrong with Emmy? With Jennifer?" The genuine concern in Michael's voice confirmed to Dorothy that she was making the right decision. That man truly loved his family and deserved to know the truth. "Mr. Michael, I need you to come home. It's urgent. I can't explain over the phone, but I've discovered things about Mrs. Jennifer." Her voice failed. The words got tangled. "Dorothy, you're scaring me. What happened? Please, Mr. Michael, trust me as you've always trusted. Come home as fast as you can. Emily is sick, but that's not all. There are things you need to know." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Michael had known Dorothy for years. He knew she would never bother him without good reason. "I'm taking the first flight to Los Angeles. I'll arrive tonight. Will you stay with Emmy until I get there?" "Of course I will, Mr. Michael. I'll take care of her, as if she were my own daughter." After hanging up, Dorothy felt a mixture of relief and terror. She had crossed a line from which there was no turning back. In a few hours, the whole truth would come out, and the consequences were unpredictable. The fake Jennifer noticed something had changed in Dorothy's behavior. Her questions became more direct, her gaze more suspicious. During dinner, while Emily slept recovering from her fever, the tension between the two women was palpable. "Dorothy, you seem different today. Did something happen?" "Nothing, Mrs. Jennifer. Just worried about Emily, that's all. Michael won't be back until tomorrow night. You don't have to stay late. Actually, I'd rather stay. A sick child needs constant attention. And Emily already sees me as family anyway." The imposter didn't respond, but Dorothy saw something in her eyes that chilled her to the bone. It was fear, but also a dangerous determination. She knew she had been discovered and was calculating her next moves. The hours dragged on with torturous slowness. Dorothy remained in Emily's room, pretending to sleep in the armchair beside the bed, but keeping all her senses alert. Around 2 in the morning, she heard cautious footsteps in the hallway. The fake Jennifer was moving through the house in the dark, clearly looking for something. Dorothy heard her in the office, rummaging through drawers and shelves. Then in the basement, where she probably discovered someone had gone through the document trunks. When the footsteps approached Emily's room, Dorothy pretended to be awake. "Mrs. Jennifer, can't you sleep?" "No, I'm worried about Emmy. I came to check on her." "She's much better. The fever has gone down and she kept water down. It must just be a virus." The imposter approached the bed where Emily slept peacefully. For a moment that seemed eternal. Dorothy feared she might harm the child, but she just adjusted the blanket and left the room. The rest of the night passed without incident, but Dorothy didn't sleep a wink. Her mind worked frantically, anticipating the conversation she would have with Michael and preparing all the evidence she had collected. Michael arrived the next morning much earlier than expected. Dorothy intercepted him at the entrance of the house before he encountered the imposter. "Mr. Michael, we need to talk. In the garden, where no one can hear us." Dorothy's serious expression and evident agitation convinced Michael that something serious had happened. They headed to the gazebo at the back of the spacious garden, where they could talk without being overheard. "Dorothy, you're making me nervous. What happened?" "Mr. Michael, what I'm about to say will sound crazy, but you need to hear everything before judging me. The woman in your house is not Mrs. Jennifer." Michael looked at her as if she had lost her mind. "What do you mean she's not Jennifer?" "Of course she's Jennifer. Dorothy, have you been sleeping poorly? Are you taking any new medication?" "Mr. Michael, please, listen to everything I have to say. Then you can decide if I'm crazy or not." For the next hour, Dorothy detailed every discovery, every inconsistency observed, every piece of evidence collected. She showed the photos she had discreetly taken of the documents, told him about the different handwriting, the behavior changes, Emily's strange reactions. "And there's more, Mr. Michael. Yesterday when Emmy got sick, she didn't know the pediatrician's name, or where the number was saved. What mother doesn't know these things?" Michael listened to everything in growing silence. As Dorothy presented her evidence, small memories began to form in his mind. Details he had attributed to Jennifer's stress or tiredness took on a new and disturbing explanation. "But Dorothy, what you're suggesting is, it's impossible. Why would Amanda do something like this, and where would the real Jennifer be?" "I don't know, Mr. Michael. I only know that it's not Mrs. Jennifer who's taking care of your daughter." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Michael fell silent for long minutes, processing everything he had heard. His businessman's mind, accustomed to analyzing complex situations and making tough decisions, began to accept the possibility that Dorothy might be right. If you're right, we need more evidence before confronting her. We can't accuse someone of being an imposter without absolute certainty. I have an idea, Mr. Michael. Do you remember that Mrs. Jennifer has a small birthmark on her right shoulder? She showed it to me once when she asked me to apply ointment for a rash. Michael nodded, perfectly recalling the small crescent-shaped mark that Jennifer always tried to hide with makeup when wearing strapless dresses. If it really is Amanda, she won't have that mark. They're twins, but not identical in everything. But how can we verify this without raising suspicions? Leave it to me, Mr. Michael. Women have their ways. They entered the house trying to act normally. Michael greeted the supposed Jennifer with a kiss on the cheek, but Dorothy noticed he was studying every detail of her behavior. The imposter, in turn, seemed nervous about her husband's early return. "Michael, you're back early. Did something happen with the contract?" I managed to resolve everything faster than expected, and when Dorothy called saying Emmy was sick, I cancelled the rest of my appointments. Dorothy watched closely the imposter's reaction to the mention of the phone call. There was a flash of irritation in her eyes, quickly masked with forced maternal concern. "How is our princess?" asked Michael, heading toward his daughter's room. Emily was playing on the bed, clearly recovered from yesterday's discomfort. When she saw her father, her eyes shone with genuine joy. "Daddy, Aunt Dorothy took care of me all night. She sang all the songs I like." "That's wonderful, my princess. And Mommy, did she take care of you too?" Emily looked at the woman posing as her mother, then back at her father. Mommy was worried, but she didn't know the right songs. Only Aunt Dorothy knew them. Michael exchanged a meaningful look with Dorothy. Another piece of the puzzle fell perfectly into place. During lunch, Michael began asking seemingly casual questions about the recent past. "Jennifer, do you remember that song you used to sing to Emmy when she was little? 'Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star'?" "Of course I remember," the imposter replied quickly. "Sing a little bit for her. She missed it yesterday." The woman hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "Not now, Michael. My throat is a bit sore." Emily looked at her with a confused expression. "But you always changed the lyrics, Mommy. You said the cat turned into a prince." "Yes, I did change them," replied the imposter, unable to completely hide her discomfort. Michael continued testing their shared memories throughout the day. He mentioned restaurants they had never visited, events that never happened, people they didn't know. In each test, the imposter agreed or blatantly lied, confirming she didn't possess Jennifer's true memories. By late afternoon, Dorothy created the opportunity she needed. She said she had spilled coffee on the mistress's blouse and offered to wash it immediately, suggesting she change clothes. "Mrs. Jennifer, let me take your blouse to wash now, otherwise the stain will set. Could you change quickly while I prepare your favorite snack?" When the imposter went to the bedroom to change clothes, Dorothy followed under the pretext of gathering more laundry. The moment the woman removed her blouse, Dorothy quickly checked her right shoulder. There was no birthmark at all. Dorothy rushed downstairs to find Michael, who was in his office pretending to work while awaiting the investigation results. "There's no mark, Mr. Michael. No birthmark." Michael closed his eyes, finally fully accepting the reality Dorothy had uncovered. "My God. What do I do now, Dorothy? How do I confront a situation like this?" "First, we need to find where the real Mrs. Jennifer is, if she's okay, if she needs help." Michael picked up the phone and dialed his mother-in-law in San Diego, where Jennifer had said she was going to care for her sick mother. "Mrs. Patricia, this is Michael. How are you? And Jennifer?" The conversation that followed revealed devastating information. Mrs. Patricia was doing well with no health problems. Jennifer had visited her mother 3 months earlier, but stayed only a weekend. There was no situation requiring special care. "Mr. Michael," said Dorothy after he hung up, "I think we need to call Mrs. Jennifer directly. Her number must be somewhere in the house." They searched through Jennifer's personal phone book until they found San Diego numbers. The first was her mother's, the second a boarding house downtown. Michael dialed the boarding house number with trembling hands. "Good afternoon, I'd like to speak with Jennifer Harrison, or Jennifer Collins." "Jennifer Collins? Yes, she's here, but she's out working. She only returns in the evening. Want to leave a message?" Michael nearly dropped the phone. Jennifer was alive. She was in San Diego and apparently working, not caring for any sick mother. "Could you tell her Michael called? It's urgent. Say it's about Emily." "Sure, I'll pass along the message." Michael and Dorothy looked at each other in silence. The situation was even more complex than they'd imagined. Jennifer wasn't sick, nor caring for anyone. She was living in San Diego, working, apparently by choice. "Why didn't she come back?" murmured Michael. "Why did she leave her daughter?" Before they could fully process this information, the imposter came down to the living room. It was noticeable she'd sensed the tense atmosphere between Michael and Dorothy, and her expression showed growing nervousness. "Michael, are you okay? You and Dorothy look worried." "We're fine, Jennifer. Just talking about Emmy." At that moment, the house phone rang. Michael answered, and the voice on the other end asked to speak with Amanda. "There's no Amanda here. You've dialed wrong," replied Michael, but his eyes were fixed on the woman posing as his wife. Her reaction was poorly disguised panic. She quickly headed to the kitchen, clearly trying to escape the awkward situation. Michael followed her, determined to finally confront the truth. "Jennifer, or should I say Amanda?" The woman froze with her back to him. Slowly, she turned to face him. Her face had lost all color, and in her eyes was a mixture of fear and despair. "Michael, I can explain." "Then explain. Explain why you've been posing as my wife for months. Explain where the real Jennifer is. Explain why you lied to my daughter." Tears began streaming down the imposter's face. She heavily sat in a kitchen chair, as if her legs could no longer support her. I just wanted to be happy, Michael. Wanted to have a family like you gave Jennifer. Where is my wife? She's fine. She's in San Diego working at a clothing store. She decided not to come back." Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "What do you mean, decided not to come back? Why? When you had that fight 3 months ago about the business trip she didn't want you to take, Jennifer was very hurt, said she felt suffocated in the marriage, that she needed some time to think." Michael remembered the argument. Jennifer had vehemently opposed a business trip that would last 2 weeks. They had a terrible fight, and she had left home saying she was going to visit her mother to cool off. "She asked me to stay here just for a few days, so you wouldn't suspect she had left out of anger. But the days went by and she didn't return. She said she needed more time, and I grew attached to Emily. And to you." "Did you fall in love with my husband?" asked Dorothy, outraged. "I've always been in love with Michael," admitted Amanda between sobs, "even before he married Jennifer. But she was always the prettiest, the smartest, the most successful. Michael never looked at me. Michael was processing too much information at once. His wife had voluntarily abandoned the family, and his sister-in-law had taken on her identity, not only out of love for him, but also out of envy of her sister." "And Emily? How could you lie to a child? I love Emily as if she were my own daughter. I take better care of her than Jennifer ever did. Jennifer always complained about maternal duties, always said she felt trapped. I never felt that way." Dorothy, who had listened to the entire confession in silence, finally spoke up. "But Emily noticed that you're different. Children sense these things. I tried to be exactly like Jennifer. I studied all her habits, all her quirks, but it's impossible to be someone else completely." Michael sat down, trying to digest the magnitude of the situation. His wife had abandoned the family, his daughter was being raised by an imposter, and he had been deceived for months. "I need to talk to Jennifer, now." Amanda gave him the phone number of the boarding house where Jennifer was staying. With trembling hands, Michael dialed the number. "Jennifer? It's Michael." The conversation that followed was one of the most difficult in Michael's life. Jennifer confirmed that she had left San Diego voluntarily, that she was working and supporting herself, and that she had no plans to return to Los Angeles anytime soon. "I need some time, Michael. Our marriage has been suffocating us for a long time. We were only pretending to be happy because of Emmy." "And our daughter? You just abandoned our daughter?" Amanda is taking care of her, and from what I see, she's doing a better job than I ever managed. Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. The woman he had married, the mother of his daughter, was talking about abandoning the family as if it was something natural. "Jennifer, you need to come back. Your daughter needs you." "Michael, be honest. Emmy is better off with Amanda. She always has been. I was never a natural mother like she is." The call ended with Jennifer firmly refusing to return to Los Angeles. She had built a new life in San Diego and had no intention of giving it up. Michael hung up the phone and looked at Amanda, who was anxiously awaiting the outcome of the conversation. "She doesn't want to come back," he said simply. "And are you going to report me? Kick me out of the house?" Michael didn't know how to respond. Legally, Amanda had committed the crime of identity fraud, but morally the situation was much more complex. She had cared for Emily with genuine love, had kept the household running, and had been a devoted wife to a man who didn't even know he was being deceived. "I need to talk to Emmy. She needs to know the truth." "Michael, please don't traumatize the child. Let me explain it to her in a way she can understand." The conversation with Emily was surreal. Amanda, still pretending to be Jennifer, explained to the girl that she was actually Aunt Amanda, and that Mommy Jennifer had gone on a trip to take care of important things. Emily's reaction was more mature than any adult would expect from a 6-year-old. "I already knew you weren't Mommy Jennifer," she said simply. "You're more affectionate than her, and you always know where my toys are." The innocent words of the child struck all the adults present, like a painful revelation about the family dynamic that existed before the identity swap. Michael realized that his daughter was genuinely happier and better cared for with Amanda than she had ever been with her own mother. How could he destroy this in the name of a truth that might be more harmful than beneficial? During the following days, the house lived in an atmosphere of uncertainty. Michael didn't know whether he should kick Amanda out, whether he should try to convince Jennifer to come back, or whether he should accept the new family configuration that, however strange it was, seemed to be working better than the previous one. Dorothy became a key piece in this complex equation. As a witness to the entire discovery and Michael's confidant, she was the only person who knew the whole truth and could offer an impartial outside perspective. "Mr. Michael," she said one afternoon as they watched Emily playing in the garden with Amanda, "the child is happy. Happier than I've ever seen her. But Dorothy, how am I going to explain this to the rest of the world? How am I going to live knowing that my wife abandoned me and I'm living with her sister? The world doesn't need to know everything, Mr. Michael, and what if deep down you're happier too?" Dorothy's question touched on the core of a truth that Michael didn't want to admit. He was happier. Amanda was more attentive, more affectionate, more dedicated to the family than Jennifer had ever been. The house was more harmonious, Emily was more cheerful, and he himself felt more loved. The final decision came when Jennifer called again, this time to say that she was leaving San Diego to live in Chicago with a new boyfriend she had met. "Michael, I want a divorce, and I want to give up custody of Emily. Amanda can legally adopt her if she wants." The coldness with which Jennifer spoke about definitively abandoning her daughter shocked Michael deeply. At that moment, he understood that the woman he had married had never been truly happy in the role of wife and mother. After another week of reflection, Michael made a decision that would change their lives forever. "Amanda," he said one morning, finding her in the kitchen making coffee, "do you want to stay? Not as Jennifer, but as yourself." Amanda began to cry. "Michael, you don't understand. I fell in love with you 10 years ago. I always dreamed of this, but I never imagined it would happen like this. It happened, and now we have to decide how we're going to move forward." Michael proposed an honest, fresh start, divorce from Jennifer, marriage to Amanda, and legal adoption of Emily. It would be complicated to explain to friends and family, but it was the only way to build a life based on truth. Dorothy, who had been the catalyst for this entire revelation, received an unexpected offer from Michael. "Dorothy, you saved my family. Without you, I might have lived a lie for the rest of my life. I want you to accept a promotion, house manager, with double the salary and expanded responsibilities. "Mr. Michael, I don't know if I deserve that." "You deserve it, Dorothy. And more than that, you're part of the family now. Emily loves you like a grandmother, Amanda respects you as a friend, and I consider you a sister." The transformation in Dorothy's life was radical. From being a cleaner, she came to manage the entire house, supervising other staff and taking care of family organization. She managed to take Tyler out of public school and put him in a private one, as well as ensuring that Brandon finished his technical course and Ashley could go to college. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 6 months later, the new family had settled into a healthy and happy routine. Amanda had officially assumed her identity, going through all the necessary legal procedures to regularize her situation. Jennifer's divorce had been finalized, and she had officially relinquished custody of Emily. Michael and Amanda married in a simple ceremony, attended only by close friends and family who understood the situation. Emily was the radiant flower girl, thrilled to finally have a mother who reciprocated her affection with full dedication. Dorothy became much more than an employee. She was the family confidant, Emily's surrogate grandmother, the loyal friend who had saved them all from a life built on lies. Little Emily, now 7 years old, had developed impressively under Amanda's care. Her school grades improved, she made more friends, and displayed a confidence she had never had before. One day, while playing in the garden with Dorothy, she asked a question that summed up the entire complexity of the situation in a simple and innocent way. "Aunt Dorothy, why didn't my real mother like me as much as Aunt Amanda does?" Dorothy knelt beside the girl and chose her words carefully. "My beautiful girl, sometimes people don't know how to show love. Your mother, Jennifer, loved you, but she was confused about what she wanted from life. Your mother, Amanda, always knew she wanted to take care of you. And do I have 2 mothers now? You have one mother who loves you very much and is always here for you. And that's what matters." Michael, who was listening to the conversation from his office window, smiled. Dorothy was right. What mattered was the love present, not biology or social conventions. The Harrison family story became an example of how life can surprise us with twists that, initially frightening, can lead us to a happiness we never knew was possible. Amanda had found the family she had always dreamed of having. Michael had discovered a more mature and genuine love. Emily had gained a dedicated mother and an additional maternal figure in Dorothy. And Dorothy had seen her own life transformed by the courage to do what was right, even at the risk of losing everything. 2 years after the initial discovery, the house in Beverly Hills enjoyed a harmony that had never existed before. Michael and Amanda had built a marriage based on honesty and mutual respect. Emily was developing into a confident and loving child. Dorothy had established herself as the family's moral guardian, always vigilant to ensure that truth and love prevailed over any temptation to return to the lies of the past. Jennifer, in turn, had married in Chicago and built a new life where she felt fulfilled. In sporadic conversations with Michael, she always expressed relief at having made the decision to leave and gratitude that Amanda had taken on the responsibility she couldn't bear. Life had taught everyone that family isn't just defined by blood ties, but by the dedication, care, and genuine love that people choose to show one another. Dorothy often reflected on how her courageous decision to investigate her suspicions had changed everyone's lives for the better. Her maternal intuition and her courage to do what was right had saved a family from the silent destruction that a continuing lie would eventually cause. On quiet evenings, when she put Emily to bed and heard Amanda singing the songs the girl really liked, Dorothy knew she had made the right decision. Sometimes discovering the truth is painful, but it is always necessary to build an authentic and happy life. Michael began working more from home, enjoying more time with the family. Amanda returned to studying, fulfilling her dream of graduating in education to work with children. Emily grew up surrounded by true love and examples of integrity. And Dorothy continued to be the heart that kept that family united, always watchful to protect the happiness they had all achieved. The Harrison family's story proved that sometimes, When a world built on lies collapses, the ruins can be transformed into the foundation of something much more solid and beautiful, and that the courage of a simple person, guided by love and justice, can be the catalyst for extraordinary transformations. But life never stops testing us, and new challenges were emerging on the horizon. Michael began receiving strange calls at his office, people asking for Jennifer Harrison and refusing to explain why when told she no longer lived there. Dorothy, always attentive to details, noticed that the calls always came at the same time and that the caller clearly knew the household's routine. Her intuition, which had saved the family before, began sending warning signals again. "Mr. Michael," she said one morning, "there's something strange going on. These calls aren't normal." Michael had noticed the same pattern but was trying not to worry. His life was finally on track, and he didn't want to create problems where perhaps none existed. "It must be some persistent telemarketer, Dorothy. Don't worry about it." But Dorothy couldn't calm down. Her experience as a woman who had worked in many different homes had taught her to recognize when something was out of place, and something was definitely wrong. The answer came in an unexpected way. One afternoon, while Amanda was picking up Emily from school and Michael was in a meeting outside the company, Dorothy answered the house landline. "Hello, Harrison residence." "Who am I speaking with?" asked a female voice, clearly nervous. "Dorothy, I work here. Would you like to speak with someone?" "I need to speak with Jennifer Harrison. It's urgent." "Could you give me your name? Jennifer doesn't live here anymore." There was a long pause, and Dorothy could hear the woman talking with someone in the background, whispering agitatedly. "Listen, I know Jennifer Harrison lives there. I have important information for her, about Aunt Matilda's inheritance." Dorothy felt a chill down her spine. Jennifer had never mentioned any Aunt Matilda, nor any pending inheritances. What if these strange calls were related to some legal or financial issue Jennifer had left behind? "Could you give me your phone number? I'll try to contact Jennifer and pass along your message." The woman hesitated, but eventually left a number from San Diego. Dorothy carefully wrote everything down and immediately called Michael. "Mr. Michael, you need to come home. Now." "Dorothy, what happened?" "It's about Jennifer. There are people looking for her because of an inheritance. And I have a bad feeling about this." Michael cancelled his appointments and returned home immediately. When he arrived, he found Dorothy agitated, pacing back and forth in the kitchen, as she always did when worried. "Tell me everything, Dorothy." She reported the call, the details about this Aunt Matilda, and the woman's insistence on speaking directly with Jennifer. Michael became thoughtful. "Jennifer never mentioned any Aunt Matilda, and she was always very open about family financial matters." "That's exactly what worries me, Mr. Michael. What if Jennifer left some pending matter behind, some debt or legal problem?" Michael decided to call Jennifer directly in Chicago. The conversation was enlightening and disturbing at the same time. "Michael, I never had any Aunt Matilda. My family is small, you know all the relatives, and there's no pending inheritance." "Then who are these people looking for you?" "I don't know, Michael, but there's something I never told you. Before leaving San Diego, I borrowed money from some people who... that aren't exactly nice." Michael's blood ran cold. "What kind of people, Jennifer?" "Loan sharks, Michael. I was desperate. I needed money to get settled. I borrowed it, promising to pay back in 3 months. That was almost a year ago." Michael nearly dropped the phone. Jennifer had gotten into debt with loan sharks and had disappeared without paying. Now these people were looking for her, and the first clue had been the family's old house. "Jennifer, how much do you owe?" "About 50,000 reais with the interest they charge." 50,000? How did you manage to spend that much money?" "Michael, I was alone, without a job, without anything. I had to pay alimony, apartment deposit, furniture, food. The money flew." Michael realized that the new happy life he had built was about to be threatened by Jennifer's past mistakes. The people looking for her weren't heirs or lawyers. They were debt collectors. "Jennifer, you need to fix this." "Michael, I don't have that money. That's why I didn't say anything to you. I hoped they would give up looking for me." After hanging up, Michael explained the situation to Dorothy, who listened with growing concern. "Mr. Michael, this is dangerous. People like that don't give up easily. What if they find out Jennifer doesn't live here anymore? They'll want to know where she is. But Amanda has nothing to do with this. Neither do I. For people like that, it doesn't matter. If they can't find Jennifer, they'll go after anyone in the family. Michael realized he needed to take drastic measures to protect his new family. He decided to hire a lawyer specialized in negotiations with creditors and see if he could resolve Jennifer's situation, even though she was in Chicago. But things quickly got complicated. The following week, 2 men showed up at the door of the house, asking for Jennifer Harrison. Dorothy was alone with Emily when they rang the bell. "Good afternoon, Ma'am. We're looking for Jennifer Harrison. We know she lives here." Dorothy, with all her life experience, immediately realized those men represented danger. "Jennifer hasn't lived here for a long time." "Are you sure, Ma'am? Because our information says she still lives at this address." "Your information is wrong. Jennifer moved out over a year ago." The men exchanged looks, and Dorothy saw they didn't believe her. "Do you know where we can find her?" "I don't know. She moved and didn't leave a new address." One of the men took a step toward the door, as if he wanted to come in. Dorothy, even though scared, positioned herself to block the entrance. "Look, Ma'am, you'd better cooperate. We just want to talk to Jennifer about a financial matter. And I already told you she doesn't live here anymore." It was then that Emily appeared behind Dorothy, curious about the conversation at the door. The child's presence completely changed the dynamic of the situation. "Who are they, Aunt Dorothy?" "No one important, sweetie. Go back inside." But the men saw the girl, and Dorothy realized they now knew there were children in the house. This made everything much more dangerous. "Listen, Ma'am," one of the men said, lowering his voice. "We'll be back. And when we come back, Jennifer better be here to talk, or we'll have to talk to whoever is available." After they left, Dorothy immediately called Michael and told him everything that had happened. "Mr. Michael, this situation is getting serious. They threatened to come back, and they saw Emily. I'm coming home now. Call Amanda and tell her not to come back until I get there." When Michael got home, he found Dorothy visibly shaken, and Emily not understanding why she couldn't play in the garden like she always did. "Dorothy, could you identify these men?" "I could, Mr. Michael. One was tall, dark-skinned, had a scar on his face. The other one was shorter, chubby, wore glasses. Michael decided he needed to take even more drastic measures. He called Jennifer in Chicago again. "Jennifer, the loan sharks showed up at my house. They threatened Dorothy and saw Emily." "Michael, I'm so sorry. I never imagined they'd come after you. Jennifer, you need to come here and fix this, or find a way to pay off this debt." "Michael, I can't go back there. If they catch me, I don't know what they'll do to me." "And you think I'm going to let them threaten my daughter because of your problems?" The conversation heated up, with Michael demanding that Jennifer take responsibility for her actions and Jennifer refusing to return to Los Angeles. Finally, she made a desperate proposal. "Michael, I'll call my contact there in San Diego and explain that I don't live in that house anymore. I'll give them your number in case they want to negotiate." "No way, Jennifer. I don't want these criminals having my phone number." "Then what do you want me to do?" Michael realized that Jennifer was being selfish and irresponsible, putting their daughter's safety second to protect herself. At that moment, he fully understood why Amanda was a much better person to be Emily's mother. "Jennifer, you have 48 hours to fix this, or I'll handle it my way." "What do you mean your way?" "I'll pay your debt and then sue you to get the money back, and I'll use that as evidence to make sure you can never claim custody of Emily again." The threat worked. Jennifer finally understood that Michael was serious and that her irresponsibility was costing more than she could afford. Within the next 24 hours, Jennifer managed to contact the loan sharks and negotiate an installment payment. Michael, to protect his family, agreed to lend the money to Jennifer, but with a formal contract establishing Jennifer as the debtor and permanently renouncing any rights to Emily or the couple's assets. The situation was resolved, but it left scars. Michael realized how selfish Jennifer had been throughout the entire marriage, always prioritizing her own desires over the family's well-being. Amanda, on the other hand, showed impressive strength and maturity in dealing with the crisis, always putting Emily's protection first. Dorothy, once again, had been the key piece in protecting the family. Her courage in facing the dangerous men and her quickness in communicating everything to Michael had prevented a potentially catastrophic situation. "Dorothy," Michael said one night, after everything had calmed down, "you saved our family once again." "Mr. Michael, when you love a family, you do anything to protect it. And this here is my family too." Emily, who had noticed all the tension but didn't fully understand what was happening, approached Dorothy and hugged her tightly. "Aunt Dorothy, you're my hero." Those simple words from a child perfectly summarized the role Dorothy had played in that family's life. First discovering the truth about the identity swap, then protecting everyone from an external threat. Her dedication and courage had been crucial in building and maintaining the happiness they all enjoyed. 6 months after the incident with the loan sharks, the Harrison family's life had returned to normal. Jennifer had managed to pay off her debt by working in Chicago and had signed all the legal documents permanently renouncing her maternity of Emily. Amanda was officially registered as Emily's adoptive mother, legally completing what already existed emotionally. The girl, now 8 years old, had developed impressively, becoming a confident, studious, and loving child. Michael and Amanda celebrated 2 years of marriage with a party for close friends. Dorothy Martinez was the organizer of the event, but she was also honored as the person who had made that union possible by discovering the truth about the switched identity. During the party, Michael gave a speech that moved everyone present. "2 years ago, I was living a life I thought was perfect, but it was actually built on a lie. It took the courage and dedication of a special person to show me the truth. Dorothy Martinez is not just our employee, she is our family. She saved my daughter, saved my real marriage, and saved my life." Dorothy, who had never been the center of attention at social events, was touched by the public recognition. Her life had transformed in ways she never imagined possible. Her own children had also benefited from the changes. Brandon had graduated as a mechanical technician and opened his own shop with a loan that Michael had guaranteed. Ashley was studying nursing at a private university with a scholarship that Michael had secured through his contacts. Tyler was studying at one of the best private schools in the city and dreamed of becoming a doctor. "Mom," said Brandon during a visit to the house in Beverly Hills, "you changed our lives when you decided to do the right thing back then." "Son, I just did what any decent person would do." "No, Mom. You had courage when many people would have stayed silent, and look how life rewarded us for it." Dorothy knew her son was right. Her decision to investigate her suspicions about Jennifer had triggered a series of events that positively transformed the lives of everyone involved. Amanda had found the family she had always dreamed of having. Michael had discovered a mature and true love. Emily had gained a dedicated mother who truly wanted to care for her. And Dorothy had seen her life and her children's lives change for the much better. But perhaps the most important lesson from this whole story was about the importance of truth. No matter how painful it may be initially, the truth always builds a more solid foundation for happiness than any well-intentioned lie. The Harrison family had learned that family is not just defined by blood ties or legal documents, but by the love, dedication, and genuine commitment that people choose to have for one another. And that sometimes, when a world built on falsehoods collapses, the ruins can become the foundation for something much more beautiful and lasting. Dorothy continued working in the house, but now as an administrator and beloved member of the family. Her constant vigilance ensured that no new lie or threat could destroy the harmony achieved with so much effort. On quiet afternoons, when she watched Emily playing in the garden with Amanda, Dorothy remembered the day she found those documents on the dresser. Her courageous decision to investigate, even at the risk of losing her job, had been the first step on a journey that radically transformed everyone's lives. The Harrison family's story became an example of how the courage to do what is right, even when it's difficult, can lead to unexpectedly wonderful outcomes, and of how a simple person, armed only with intuition and determination, can be the catalyst for extraordinary changes in many people's lives. 3 years after the initial discovery, Michael received an unexpected call. It was Jennifer, calling from a rehabilitation clinic in rural Chicago. "Michael, I need to talk to you about Emily." Michael's heart raced. They hadn't been in contact for over a year since she had paid off the loan sharks. "Jennifer, Emily's custody is already settled. You renounced all rights." "I know, Michael. It's not about custody, it's about saying goodbye to her properly." Michael was confused. "What do you mean, saying goodbye?" "Michael, I'm sick. I found out I have a serious health problem. The doctors say I don't have much time." The news hit Michael like a bolt of lightning. Even though Jennifer had caused so many problems, she was still Emily's biological mother. "What kind of problem?" "Liver cancer, Michael. Very advanced." Apparently, the years of drinking and anxiety medication did more damage than I imagined. Michael didn't know how to react. His first concern was for Emily. "Jennifer, Emily is fine. She's happy. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to stir this up now." "Michael, I just want to talk to her once. Explain why I left, ask for forgiveness, tell her I love her. I don't want to die with this on my conscience." After much thought, Michael decided to talk to Amanda and Dorothy about the situation. The decision should be made together, always thinking about what would be best for Emily. "Amanda, how do you feel about this?" "Michael, she is Emily's biological mother. If she's really sick, I think Emily has the right to say goodbye, if she wants to." Dorothy, as always, offered the most practical perspective. "Emily is 9 years old now. She's smart, mature. I think you should explain the situation and let her decide if she wants to see her mother or not." The conversation with Emily was one of the most difficult Michael had ever had to have. How do you explain to a child that her biological mother was sick and wanted to say goodbye? "Daddy, is she going to be okay?" "We don't know, my beautiful girl. That's why she wants to talk to you." "And Mommy Amanda, is she still going to be my mum?" "Of course, Emily. Amanda will always be your mother. That will never change." Emily thought for a few minutes before answering, "I want to see her, but I want you to be with me." The meeting was scheduled to happen at home, in a familiar environment where Emily would feel safe. Jennifer arrived visibly weakened by the illness, much thinner and paler than Michael remembered. The encounter between Jennifer and Emily was emotional and touching. Jennifer apologized for abandoning her daughter, explained that she was confused at the time, and acknowledged that Amanda was a much better mother than she had ever been able to be. "Emily, I want you to know that I love you very much, and that me leaving home wasn't your fault. It was because I didn't know how to be a good mother." "I know, Jennifer. Mommy Amanda explained that to me." The naturalness with which Emily called Amanda, Mommy, and Jennifer by her first name showed how she had processed the whole complex family situation in a healthy way. "Are you happy, Emily?" "Yes, I am. I have a family that loves me very much, and Aunt Dorothy takes care of me like family too." Jennifer looked at Dorothy with gratitude. "Dorothy, thank you for taking care of my daughter when I didn't know how. She's a wonderful girl, Mrs. Jennifer. She's easy to love." The farewell was filled with emotion, but also with a peace that Michael hadn't expected. Jennifer had finally made peace with her choices and asked for forgiveness for her mistakes. 2 weeks later, Jennifer passed away in the recovery clinic. Michael attended the funeral, accompanied by Amanda and Dorothy. Emily preferred not to go, but she made a drawing to be placed on the coffin. A happy family with 4 people: Daddy Michael, Mommy Amanda, herself, and Aunt Dorothy. The drawing perfectly summarized how Emily saw her true family, the people who chose to love and care for her every day, regardless of biological ties. After the funeral, the Harrison family's life continued on its path of happiness and harmony. Jennifer's visit had provided necessary closure, but it hadn't shaken the solid family structure they had built together. Michael and Amanda began thinking about having another child, giving Emily the chance to be a big sister. Dorothy was excited about the possibility of helping care for another baby in the family. "Mr. Michael," said Dorothy one evening, "this family has grown in such a beautiful way. Who would have thought it all started with those papers I found in the dresser? Dorothy, you were our guardian angel. Without you, none of this would have been possible." Emily, now 10 years old, had become an extraordinary girl. Her grades in school were excellent. She took piano and swimming lessons, had many friends, and showed impressive emotional maturity for her age. One day, during a school assignment about my family, Emily wrote a text that moved everyone. "My family is different from most families. My daddy's name is Michael, and he's a businessman. My mommy's name is Amanda, and she takes care of me with lots of love. Aunt Dorothy works in our house, but she's like a grandmother to me. I had another mother before, named Jennifer, but she couldn't take care of me like I needed. Then my mommy Amanda came to take care of me, and now I'm very happy. I learned that family isn't just who you're born with. It's who chooses to stay together and love each other forever." The text was chosen by the teacher to be read at the parent-teacher conference, and everyone present was moved by the girl's maturity and wisdom. The Harrison family's story had become an example in the school and community of how families can be formed in unconventional ways, but are equally valid and loving. Dorothy, now 56 years old, had become a reference in the area. Other families started seeking her out to work in their homes, but she always refused. Her loyalty to the Harrison family was unshakable. "Aunt Dorothy," asked Emily one afternoon, "did you never want to have your own family?" "My dear, I do have my own family. You are my family. And my 3 children too. We don't need to live in the same house to be a real family." Dorothy's simple wisdom remained one of the pillars that supported the harmony of that house. Her presence ensured that values like honesty, loyalty, and love were always prioritized over superficial matters or social conventions. Michael had prospered professionally, expanding his business and becoming a respected entrepreneur in the import industry. Amanda had graduated in education and opened a small preschool in the neighborhood, fulfilling her dream of working with children. But the greatest success of all was the family harmony they had managed to build. It was a harmony based on truth, mutual respect, and genuine love, exactly the opposite of what existed when Jennifer lived in the house. On Friday nights, they maintained a special tradition, family dinner, always including Dorothy, and then watching a movie together. It was during these moments that it became clearest how much that family had solidified as a strong and loving unit. "Daddy," said Emily on one of these Fridays, "could we throw a party to celebrate the day Aunt Dorothy found out that Jennifer wasn't Jennifer?" Michael and Amanda laughed at Emily's childlike logic, but realized she was right. That discovery really deserved to be celebrated, as it had been the beginning of all the happiness they enjoyed. "You know what, Emily?" said Michael. "We sure will. We'll celebrate Truth Day every year." And so, the Harrison family instituted a new tradition. Every September 15th, the date Dorothy had found the documents in the dresser, they threw a special party to celebrate the importance of truth and the courage to do what's right. The first Truth Day celebration gathered all the family's close friends. Michael told the full story to the guests, always highlighting Dorothy's fundamental role in uncovering the lie and saving the family. "Dorothy," he said during the speech, "you are proof that an ordinary person, armed only with courage and love, can change entire lives. You taught us that family is about choice, not obligation, and that the truth, no matter how painful, always builds stronger foundations than any lie." The applause was warm and sincere. Dorothy, who never liked being the center of attention, was moved but happy to see how her brave decision had resulted in so much love and harmony. During the party, Brandon, Ashley, and Tyler, Dorothy's children, were also present. They had practically become siblings to Emily, and the Harrison home was a second home to them. "Mom," Ashley said to Dorothy, "you saved 2 families that day. Theirs and ours too." Dorothy smiled, knowing her daughter was right. Her life and her children's lives had changed drastically for the better after she made the brave decision to investigate her suspicions about Jennifer. As the party continued, Emily approached Dorothy and whispered in her ear, "Aunt Dorothy, I'm happy you discovered the truth. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have Mom Amanda, and I wouldn't have you as my second grandma." Those simple words from a child perfectly summed up the transformative impact that a courageous act can have on many people's lives. End of story. Now tell us, what did you think of this touching story? Do you agree that Dorothy made the right decision by investigating her suspicions? Leave your comment sharing your opinion, and where you're watching from. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.